everyone, thanks for joining me today with Stamping with Loretta. Today is RCAD number 6, and I will admit to this publicly here on YouTube that today's RCAD started out to be something using old computer parts, and the more I did with it, the more I hated it, so I finally just threw it in the garbage can. So there you go. I'm going to resituate the camera so you can see what I'm doing, and I'll be back. Alright, what you see in my work desk right now is Shrinky Dink brand name shrink plastic, and I am going to stamp an image from the Stamps of Life, which is Stephanie Bernard's company, and I'm going to stamp it twice. We're going to remember, or I want to remind you that when you're stamping onto shrink plastic, you need to make sure that you don't let the image move around, because if you do, it's just going to smear. If it smears or it doesn't stamp very well for you, the best thing to do is actually to take some hand sanitizer and put it on a baby wipe or directly onto the shrink plastic, and it will take off the stays on ink. So if that ever happens to you, then you're set to go. I'm actually standing up. I know that you probably can't see that, to stamp these images, just so that I can get some really good even pressure on the stamp, and that one actually stamped better. And since I have it out, I might as well stamp a few of these little bunnies, and for today's RCAD, and I'll be back. Okay, now that I have these images stamped, we're going to turn them over so that the part that we just stamped on is facing down. That way, when we use our markers, in this case we're going to use Copics, we'll be able to color them without smearing the ink. Now, you can use other mediums to color this, like Sharpie markers or whatever you have. I will let you know that as a general rule, that the ink that you use will, a lot of the times, I shouldn't say all the time, will show up darker on the shrink plastic once it is heat set than it does on just normal paper. When I stamp like this, I do it assembly line style, more or less, so that I just have to take one marker out at a time to color the images. But I'm going to color these, and I'll be back. Alright, I've colored my images using E27110, which is black, and R32. Now, I will tell you this, you don't have to be neat with this. There's no blending really involved. Pretty much when you pick up your marker, these images are actually dry as far as the Copic marker is concerned. And I'm going to actually cut out and shrink one of these in front of you guys, because I do get a lot of questions about how I shrink them. No, I do not use an oven or even like a clay oven to shrink mine. I do use my heat gun. It is actually pretty easy. When you're cutting these images, you do want to fussy cut. You want to get up to the line of the stamped image without going over it. And you want to move your material and not your scissors. This keeps from having any sharp, unsightly edges. It keeps the piece nice and neat and clean. Right there, I'm just going to cut that one off. And we're just going to continue on to cut this bunny out. And just like that, in just a couple minutes time, he is cut out and ready to go. This is what my RCAD looks like. This is the base. I just covered it with some pattern paper. This is a mini stack from Doodlebug Designs. It's called Hello Spring. It's actually from last year, so it's probably retired now. I don't care. I use what I have. So now we've got our image, and it is stamped. It's ready to be shrunk. I'm going to take a pair of scissors, this just happens to be what it's on my desk, and I'm going to start heating this image. And what you're going to see is it will start shrinking, which is really cool thing to watch if you've never done it before. I highly recommend it. But to keep it from curling too much, I'm just going to kind of guide it down with my scissors, hold it down I should say, so that it completely shrinks. If it curls up like that, it's going to uncurl on its own, as you can see. While it's still warm, I'm just going to make sure it's completely flat by using, in this case, the lid to my StazOn pad. I'm going to repeat this so that I have 3 bunnies, and I'll be back. Alright, after I stamped the bunnies, I decided to die cut some Easter eggs out of shrink plastic. I colored them with my Copic markers, and this was the rough and ready versus the one that I did earlier, which is just regular clear. It's not sanded, and you just have to be careful, like I said before, when you're stamping it. And so I've stamped 3 Easter eggs, and I've got my 2 bunnies. So now we're going to attach this to our artist trading card. Let's move that up into frame there. It is a beautiful weekend. It is the last days of the Cherry Blossom Festival. For those of you who are not from this area, it is a big deal down in the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., where our nation's capital is. It's a beautiful place to go visit if you ever get the chance. I highly recommend that you do not drive into D.C., that you take the metro. It's just much easier, and you'll be glad you did, actually. My puppies just came in from going potty outside, so you can hear them playing here. And they're actually mad at me because I went shopping today, so I was out of the house for a few hours, and Chad was out of the house, and nobody was here to keep them company. And I normally leave a TV or a radio on or something, and I completely forgot to do that, so I think that they're mad. I think they'll get over it. I'm sure you will agree. Most of you are just laughing, especially if you don't have pets, but our puppies are quite spoiled, and they're very sweet little angels, for puppies that is. So now that I've done that, I'm going to grab my Happy Easter stamp, which I'm not even sure if you can see that or not. I'm going to grab it and stamp it onto my card somewhere. Let's take off our little bunny stamp. Now you're going to see that I've used him quite a bit. Clear polymer stamps do stain after being used a while. You're never really going to get all of that off. They also tend to turn yellow. So just clean those up with your baby wipes and get most of it off as you can. I should have really cleaned this one off when I first took it off the packaging, but I didn't. So learn from me, do as I say, not as I do in this case. I'm going to put my little Easter sentiment onto my block. And I really like these Fiskars blocks because they have the lines, and it makes it very easy to see what you're doing. And I'm going to stamp this right above the little Easter bunny heads, right there. Oh, it doesn't show up. I'm going to try to restamp that, and I'll be back. Okay, I wanted to show this all to you so I can show you another mistake I made and how to fix it. This Happy Easter, when I went to restamp it, my hand slipped, and so as you can see, it didn't give me a good impression at all. So I'm going to stamp it again onto this scrap of white cardstock and hope that it comes out this time, because if it doesn't, we've got plenty of scraps to do this with. Okay, it's stamped just fine, kinda. It's a little crooked. Not really sure why. It's on the line. So we're gonna give it another try here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, there it is. That's much better. Since this ink is so goopy, I am going to heat set this and I'll be back. Before I cover up my mistake, or in this case my mishap, I'm going to sponge the edges of this RCAD. I'm using the same baby wipe that I've been using to clean my hands and my stamps, making sure that the black ink is way down there somewhere, and I'm going to sponge this. Now when you do this, it softens up the ink a little bit because the baby wipe is obviously a little moist, but it also kind of feathers the edges, which I like. I'm a big fanatic, actually, big fan of sponging edges on pieces, whether they're cards or RCADs. I just think that it helps draw your eye to the center of the piece that you're working on, and it makes all the other elements just pop. So we've done that. I'm going to place that aside and put its lid on. And I'm just going to take my scissors, handy dandy scissors, and cut out this Happy Easter and just trim it up a little bit more. It doesn't need to be perfect. And I'm also going to take this tiny little piece and I'm going to sponge the edges of this as well. This way it gives it some dimension without me having to fussy cut a layer or layer it just with another piece of paper. And I like the look personally, so we're going to take a little bit of our glue, hopefully. And if that happens to you, no worries, just wipe it up with your finger or your baby wipe. And I'm actually going to completely clean that off with my baby wipe so it's not sticky. And I'm going to apply my Happy Easter right over the top. Now it looks like I've done this on purpose. I'm going to grab a couple of other supplies and we'll finish this card. Alright, I gathered up a couple of more things and I used my white paint pen to give the eggs a little bit more dimension, and I also went over the bunnies with a little bit of a permanent black marker. In this case it was a Bic Market that I won in the Facebook giveaway or entry from Bic Market. Thank you again. I am enjoying my new markers. For the record, I wish you'd sent me more. That's a little selfish, but hey, any permanent markers are good in my book. So I'm using a quick stick. I'm not sure who makes these. They used to be made by Quick Cuts. I think that this one is actually from Silhouette America, but you know, whatever works. And right off the screen there I have just some E6000 glue that I drug these pieces through, and I didn't pick up a darn bit of it. I hate when that happens. So we're gonna try again. I think I got it that time. I did, and place it down. Alright, now this is really nice. I like the direction this is going. Now I want to give it a little bit more interest, and I'm going to just turn this to the side a little bit there so I can see, and I'm going to outline my pattern paper stripes here, and I'll be back. Alright, I have this like plastic mesh stuff. It's almost like tulle, but it's got a finer pattern to it, so I'm going to use this and my gelatos, which you can kind of see I've already started, just to add some more texture to my piece. So far I'm liking the way it looks. I'm not used to really using gelatos very much, so this is definitely something new for me anyway. And I really recommend though that you save things like this from your kitchen or from packaging. It just makes for a really cool background effect, and honestly it's just fun to play with. So on my bunnies, as you can see, I also added some Google Eyes. Let me zoom in a little bit more there for you, because after all they are chocolate bunnies, and chocolate bunnies have candy eyes. I love chocolate bunnies. I wish I could have one, but right now that is out of the question. I have been behaving lately, so, which is not an easy task, I might add. And my very, very dirty scratch pad underneath my paper, I'm going to just add some more blops of white on here if it'll start flowing. These paint pens can be a little bit picky sometimes, and if it doesn't want to work, try something else. I'm all for experimenting, so I'm going to take another one of my Bic markers in my favorite color of pink, and I'm going to add even more highlight to the side of the cards, edges right here. And if you take your finger while it's still damp, as you can see, you can kind of smear it down a little bit. This particular card, when I'm finished with it before it goes into my Rolodex card a day case, I am going to seal it so that it doesn't run anymore with a workable fixative like Krylon, or even a clear coat of Krylon will work, just short little burst to set it and keep it the color from running. Should it get wet, or should somebody handle it, then I don't have to worry about the ink getting smudged or smeared or no longer being pretty. So do what makes you happy, that's for sure. I really think that life is too short and that you should be kind to one another. Be kind to yourself. Do something every single day that makes you happy, and you will find that when you're happy that you make a huge difference in other people's lives, and that's just something that I think we should all strive for. Tomorrow is Palm Sunday, coming up on Easter Sunday, which is the 20th of April in 2014, and I hope that you will take the opportunity to reflect on the true meaning of Easter, which is the crucifixion and resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I hope that you guys have a great weekend, and still pictures will follow. So if you have any questions, email me. This is RCAD number 6. Have a great night. Talk to you soon. Bye.